Subject today is how to quickly and automatically write qualified WPS with Welding 4.0 and what system for quickly writing WPS for a welding project, a boiler project, etc. But first, my name is Vincent, and I am in charge of the marketing for the Sirfull welding software. I'm your welding rep at Sirfull, and thank you for your participation in this webinar dedicated to WPS today. So, before starting the webinar, I would like to announce to you some disclaimers. So I put it on your screen right now, and the purpose of this webinar is to comment and succinctly describe the notions around welding in order to present you our solution. This webinar is by no means exhaustive and cannot be a substitute for the consulting services of a welding expert or a certification body. This is not a training course, so I will be not really specific every time, so I'm sorry for that, but it's not a training course, just a webinar. And also, please let your microphone off during the presentation, and I really encourage you to put your questions in comments during the presentation, or at the end we can do a Q&A if you want. And for individual demonstration of the software Sirfull Welding, we can do something together, and I will explain to you that at the end of the webinar. Okay, we've got a plan for this webinar. So this webinar is divided in 3 parts, and you will get guidelines to write to your WPS, 4 mistakes to avoid when preparing WPS practice, and finally, we will discover an efficient system to quickly write and archive WPS in a reliable base. Sirfull Welding, of course. Finally, on the same page, let's go. So, just check if everyone is here. Okay. So, firstly, not everyone in the assembly has the same level of knowledge of the subject, so I prefer to cover a few basics. A WPS is a welding procedure specification, and it is the formal written document describing welding procedures, which provides direction to the welder or welding operators for making sound and quality production welds as per code requirements. The purpose of the document is to guide welders to the accepted procedures so that repeatable and trusted welding techniques are used. And of course, it exists two main norms, the EN ISO for the European system and ASME 9 for the American one. So it's okay, I think a lot of people in the room know that. But the WPS is a guiding document for the welding coordinator, the welder and inspector during the execution and follow-up of the welding joints. It's okay. And of course, the WPS is a mandatory document and must be present during a welding procedure qualification and welding personnel qualification. So that's okay, that's the basics. And these guidelines, you can reread these guidelines when I will send you the presentation by email. And when we speak about WPS, it's really important to know the difference between a WPS and a PWPS. So what we are talking about. So the PWPS is a supporting document that endorses the actual PQR, which is the procedure qualification record official PQR, lab test report, NDT report, and the official WPS. Because the PWPS, the P is for preliminary. So the PWPS serve as the basis for a PQR required for the certification of a WPS through an inspection body. I know there are some differences between the European and the American systems when we come to interventions of certification body, but we will not cover this part in this webinar. But the thing is, we have to know that I just want to tell you the difference between PWPS, WPS, PQR, and what's going on between the both. And for the person in the room that don't know for the moment what is a PQR, this is the official document coming from the official form as it is present in the ASME 9. Okay, we are still together. Okay, I can continue. So on the screen, I will project you all the steps to prepare a PWPS and PQR. After that, we will be able to identify what's going wrong around WPS edition, writing, and welding reporting, and what an automated system can do for you. But first, all we need to identify the welding process which is to be used is here. Sorry, I continue. First of all, we need to identify the welding process which is to be used. This is the first part before to write a PWPS. Welding processes is SMAW or GMAW, GTAW, etc. And once the welding process is decided, then we need to see the corresponding table, which is Q25252 and 2269 for the complete list of variables. With the help of the table, we can list out all the necessary variables to be used in our WPS. And once the minimum variables, essential, non-essential, and supplementary variables, this is terms we found in the ASME 9, but not in EN ISO 19614. Once the minimum variables are decided, a preliminary WPS is prepared. So just give me a few seconds. Okay, everything is on your screen right now. And based on the proposed WPS, test coupon is prepared and the coupon is welded as per the values provided in the PWPS. All the real-time data are recorded. And after successful welding, test coupon is subject to destructive tests. And if the test coupon meets the minimum code requirement, then the same PWPS is finalized and approved for further job. In case of any change, same produce is repeated till the test coupon meet the minimum code requirement. And as before, all the real-time data during welding of test coupon and destructive test report data is compiled into one document known as Procedure Qualification Record. And after successful preparation of PQR, final WPS is prepared and produced to the authorized welding inspector for final approval. And that's how we made a WPS. And we don't have the time to go more in depth into this, but I think we got the main ideas. And this is a form, a WPS in ASME 9 created with Sirfull Welding, and this is the official document we've got. But this is all we are going to watch for the moment, to see for the moment, sorry. And just to finish this, to end this first part of the webinar, I just would like to give you a bonus, and this bonus is just a very, very useful link I found on the internet, and this is all the EN ISO WPS format and all the relative norms around WPS. So this, if you are not used to the European standard, this document is really useful if you want to know all the norms that gravitate around the WPS. So let's go for the next part. 4 mistakes to avoid when preparing WPS, and why it is so difficult for a manufacturer to write WPS. Just give me a few minutes to explain my point. My point here is to consider the importance of the effort you spent on your thickness range interpretation. The purpose of this task is to exploit the full potential of your qualification. It means edit the maximum amount of WPS you can in regard of your qualified range, thickness range. Let me explain. In the last chapter, we saw together that you, manufacturer, must follow a clear workflow to obtain PQR. The variables and tests used for your qualification are recorded on the PQR. At this point, we have a thickness limit. This means WPS is qualified for a thickness range, and if we have to weld beyond this thickness range, we need a new WPS and a producer's qualification. Sometimes there are cases of non-essential variables, and a new WPS can be written freely. So now you can write qualified WPS to support the welds you need to make. The qualified range or the thickness range helps you to do that. And that's the point of, that's the twist in my webinar, is that you can create more WPS for a project or new WPS freely because you've got a qualified range and you know what you can do from this. And the purpose is to generate more document here. But sorry, we've got someone else in the room. Hi, thank you for joining us. We are currently in the webinar, so I can continue right now. So let's take an example. From the above example, you can easily find out the thickness range for which a PWPS can be qualified, or a welding engineer can prepare a WPS accordingly. And this is a thickness qualification table example. And just a remark aside. Sorry, we got someone else in the room. Sorry, I can continue right now. So remark aside, one important point to be noted that for performance qualification or welder qualification, the thickness which is considered is that of the deposited weld metal. But in case of procedure qualification, it is the thickness of the test coupon which is considered. Okay, but my point is, my conclusion is, in practice, this task must be put into perspective with the time constraints encountered by the welding coordinator in the company. What I want to explain to you is that sometimes the welding engineer or the welding coordinator don't have time create all this documentation, because you've got a lot of work to do here and here, and this type of works cannot be automated, but this part can be automated. And that leads us to the next part, a really important part of the document, of the presentation. Right now, at what limits can this process be problematic? I know individual experiences may vary in the management of WPS or welding quality management. Your WPS can be written in regard of the process type, the assembly type, the position, the grade, group thickness, etc. That is why an internal codification can also be set up to help harmonize your company WPS library. Your WPS library is updated as the client orders are received. Just go back here, because you need to archive all this documentation, this one, per customer. The questions that then arise are, what tools will you use to write your WPS? Is it Excel to help interpret the qualified range and edit WPS, or perhaps Word's document for the layout? Do you intend to systematically fill or enter your WPS document manually, knowing that many WPS cells are redundant, like position, group commercial names, or filler metals denomination? And what will be the WPS reference archive mode you will use? Paper-based or files on local server? How will this database be accessible, and who will be able to use and update it? And moreover, how will the updates, verification, and approval of these documents be traced? I think you've got the point here. The challenge here is to have an efficient system to quickly find your existing WPS in a reliable database. So the WPS are only part of the welding reporting, and complete course of construction of the welding data book and manufacturer files is complicated. So this is just a quick overview framework of what a coordinator or welding engineer need to do in order to compile a manufacturer data book report. And WPS, PQR management, is just one part. Yes, you need to find an equipment plant, do the weld mapping, find all the norms, do the NDT reports, find all the materials and consumable certificates, know the heat treatments, and compile the document. And I just tried to do a quick joke, but it failed just before. How long have you been welding? 10 years. I guess welding quality reporting turned out to be easy for you, right? That's I just want to express, right, with this meme, is that it's still complicated in 2022 to deal with welding quality documentation, because it's so difficult to do the main part of the job, like PWPS management, test, coupon, etc. So the risk here, my point here, there is a stage where you won't go any faster, and the reality of the practice will lead you to regulatory non-compliance, delay, and under-optimized and superfluous PQR. And in the Sirfull company, we believe that welding management is far too complex to be left to Excel or non-centralized system. There is one side of the welding engineer's job that may not be automated or scripted, but there may be another in which it is possible to do so. We've got new people in the room, so sorry, it interrupted me. And right now, this is the most important part. This is the example of an efficient system for quickly writing and archiving WPS in a reliable basis. And when a well-functioning system simplifies the writing of your WPS, but also enhance your know-how and save your time in the document management of welding procedure. A system such as Sirfull Welding allows you to quickly write and archive online WPS in ISO and ASME formats. Okay, I will give you a very fast, quick snippet or video clip of the application, and we will do something related to the topic of this presentation. We will create, edit, write a WPS together. So the functionality, the features presented above will show you how the solution automatically writes and initializes WPS from a PQR. So let's go. This is in EN ISO, but the software can do the same in ASME, of course. Someone is waiting in the room. Okay. So let's watch the video. So this is a capture of the software Sirfull Welding Management. You've got a feature when you can put the plan, the welding, the plan of the equipment you need to weld. You've got all the components of you will join in order to build the equipment here, and here this is where you create the welds of the equipment. Of course, these welds are composed of all the components that are present above. And the purpose of this video is to show you that we can create automatically a new WPS that is qualified and okay with the parameters of the weld. So let's go, and I will click just here in the cell and ask the software to find me a PQR with the right thickness range, a thickness range corresponding to the welding parameters. So right now is looking for, as you can see, there is an automatic research of the correct EN ISO PQR I've got in my library. So we will need to find a BW assembly type plus this group, material group, this thickness, this diameter, and this temperature. And I can see, yes, we've got one PQR with the correct thickness range or qualified range, or in French is validity range, but you've got the idea. I just click on the PQR, and right now I name my next WPS. You can see that the WPS is in correct European standard. A window will open, and in this window we got a fully complete WPS in the European format, and all the data are coming from the qualified, are coming from the PQR. the software found. So you don't need to write this by yourself manually. Everything is automatic. The document is ready to print, but not only printed, but you can also put it in Welding in a data book and manufacturer report. Okay. And you can do the same in ASME 9, of course. So this automatic generation of WPS is greatly facilitates the delivery of the welding book or information to your welders ready to assemble. And as I said before, you can do the same in ASME. So I don't have a video for this, but that it is exactly the same operation than before. You put the component next to the equipment plan. You create your weld. You ask to the software to find you the correct PQR with the correct thickness range according to the weld's parameter. So here it's V groove and this thickness, and automatically it creates a new WPS. And yes, of course, this only one features can save you a lot of time. And of course, this is not the only one features we've got in Sirfull welding management. We've got plenty other features you can use, but we don't have the time to cover all these features. The point here, the point of this webinar is to speak about WPS and what automation we can implement. So how to get Sirfull welding? If you are interested to know more, Sirfull welding is an application available in the cloud without installation. So it's quickly deployable and less than a week for any order without customization and settings. And as an publisher, integrator, and trainer of the solution, the Sirfull team will accompany you directly through the stages of your project. So we can do together a free demonstration. So you can see all the features of the software together. You can ask questions and etc. Or you can contact me directly by email or phone. Sorry. And just a quick reminder: you can do this on the software and ask for individual demonstration of the software, so full demonstration. Today we only see one feature of the software, but we've got other features to discover. So if you have more questions, feel free to send me your question in the comment section. I will ask them. It's really nice to answer question live, so feel free to ask a question. If you got question about how the software can manage your welder qualification, it's okay. If you want to know more about how to install the software on your computer, I can ask you. I can give, sorry, some insights. So feel free to ask a question in the comment section. You can do that. So if you go back to previous slides, we saw together that we've got other features in the software to discover. So feel free to book a personal, an individual demonstration of the software with me. So to give you few reminder of what we saw together, we saw features that can create automatically WPS for a welding project. We saw that it's really important to automate most of the documentation paper-based parts of the welding quality management in your company. We saw together the main task or the more important task of the coordinator and engineer, the welding engineer, when it comes to the WPS writing. But of course, this is not every part of the welding management job. There are so much things to discover or to learn, but this is the subject for today. Okay, if you don't have any more questions, if you don't have questions to put in the comment section, I think it's time to say goodbye, and to finish, to end this webinar. It's the first time we present a webinar in English of the Sirfull welding solution. So it was a pleasure for me to welcome you and to speak about WPS and Sirfull welding. We will send you the replay and the presentation file by email. Feel free to book a demonstration with me, to ask a question about Sirfull welding, and to dig in the website, sorry, www.sirfull.com. And if you don't have more questions, so thank you very much, and see you the next time. I think we will definitely do more webinar in English the next time, maybe in 2 weeks. In the meantime, if you want to know more about the next webinar, please go on the LinkedIn page of Sirfull Welding or Sirfull, and you will find the next schedule of the webinar. We also got webinar in French if you want. So we've got a webinar in French, English, and sometimes in German. So feel free to come, and feel free to ask questions by email, to book a webinar, or to invite me on LinkedIn so we can speak together. I can answer questions, etc. So thank you for your time. Thank you for this first webinar of Sirfull welding in English. I hope the webinar was okay, was good for you. It was great for me. So see you the next time, I hope, and we will send you the replay and the support file.